Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to session 5. Our first speaker of this session is going to be Emily Ramey of UC Berkeley, and she'll be speaking about analyzing long-term performance of the Keck-II AO system. Take it away.
Sorry, I was still on mute. Can everybody see my screen? See if I can get that to full screen.
Looks good.
It's a bit small, actually.
Yeah, I was having trouble. Sometimes you can share a portion of your screen, but that only seems to work for me on the first try. And if I do like a double screen share after the test, then it hasn't been working. Okay. So let me see if I can make that bigger. Okay. Is that okay size for everybody?
Emily, that's fine. People can zoom in on their own screens by clicking view options at the top of their screen on Zoom.
Great. Okay, I'll get started. Hi everybody, my name's Emily Ramey and I'm a second-year graduate student at UC Berkeley, working in Jessica Liu's group. I'd like to thank the Keck Science Committee for the opportunity to present this talk. And today I'll be talking about the long-term performance of the Keck-II laser guide star adaptive optics system. So first I want to talk about the purpose behind this study. And the main goal of this research is to determine what factors are currently affecting the performance of the Keck laser guide star adaptive optics system, or the LGS-AO system for short. So the reasoning behind trying to improve this system is that the large imaging surveys, such as galactic center, microlensing surveys, etc., require AO results to be stable over the entire course of their surveys, which can take years to decades. So long-term stability is very important. And then the second reason for this research is that if we can predict the system performance or the image quality, we could help observers to choose which science targets to observe on a given night in order to get better science results. So if one target wasn't as good quality, whereas another one was, they could observe the second target instead of the first. So our primary data for this study is a 14-year survey of the galactic center, which is aimed at investigating stellar orbits around the central black hole. This is shown in the paper Gia et al. 2019. So with each of these images, we associate the weather data from that observing night through the Mauna Kea Weather Center and the Canada, France, Hawaii telescope. We also add the seeing data from each night, also from the Mauna Kea Weather Center, which measures the turbulence in the atmosphere. And then we add to that the internal AO telemetry files, which measure the system variables from the adaptive optics hardware itself. So we have two goals in analyzing this data. The first one is just pure analysis. We want to know what factors affect the image quality and why. And then the second goal is to be able to predict the image quality from our data. So for the first goal, we can use everything in our data set. But for the second, we have to limit ourselves only to data that an observer would have before an observing run takes place. So just the weather data and the seeing data. And then we use the image quality from the NERC2 images in order to test our results. So going into our first goal, which is the full performance analysis. First of all, I'd like to thank Steve Robinson, Roy Yin, undergraduates in our group for gathering the data and performing the initial analysis for this work. So our measurements of image quality are using the Strel and full width half max metrics. And I put the definitions on the slide in case anyone's not familiar with those. But basically, all you need to know is that we want higher Strel for good image quality and lower full width half max. So if it's higher full width half max, that means worse image quality. So the plot at right shows the median Strel and full width half max values for each observing night over our full survey. And then the error bars are representing one standard deviation of observations from that night. So we can see that the image quality is actually getting worse in recent years. And the median values have gone up, and the images from each observing night also have a much higher spread in image quality than in previous years. So we're not really sure at this point what the cause of this is. It could be more light pollution, it could be air traffic causing more laser closures, or the instruments themselves could be just gradually degrading in performance. So this definitely requires more research to come up with a good answer for why this is happening. One other fairly surprising feature that we see in our data is that the image quality correlates fairly strongly with the outside temperature. And as the temperature goes up, the image quality tends to get better. So this could be due to a phenomenon called dome seeing, which happens when the telescope dome is warmer than the ambient temperature outdoors. It's an enclosed insulated building. So this temperature difference would cause turbulence in the indoor air itself, which we couldn't correct for with the laser because it's mounted on the outside of the telescope. So similar studies on the Gemini planet imager have found this to be the case. So it's pretty likely that the same thing could be happening at Keck. Moving on to the performance prediction section. So we start with a correlation study of all the available variables with the image quality, and we extract the ones that correlate most strongly with Strel and full width half max. So that gives us a feature and target set on which to test our machine learning algorithms. And the results of this are that the best performing algorithm is the random forest regressor from Python's sklearn package. So we also tested a support vector machine and a simple neural network for reference, but those didn't do as well on our data set, possibly because they both use linear methods to estimate the result. So on the left, we can see a histogram of our results, and we can see that this algorithm does fairly well overall with not many errors above, say, 10 milliarcseconds for full width half max or 0.05 Strel ratio. However, the percentage errors, as we can see on the right, seem worse than the mean absolute errors. And we find on closer analysis that the, random forest regressor is worse at predicting image quality when the image quality itself is lower. So that's definitely something to look into in future iterations to see if we can balance out the performance and get accurate readings across the board. So to summarize, we were able to pinpoint several potential issues with the current Keck-II system and to develop an initial quality prediction algorithm for image results. These could both be used in the development of future AO systems, such as the Kappa project, and the AO systems which are in development for new telescopes currently, but definitely further research is needed in order for us to get conclusive results. So for example, we need to verify our findings using other long-running image surveys and formulate possible solutions to the quality problems we're seeing currently. And as for the prediction tool, we could potentially improve our accuracy with more advanced machine learning algorithms or with a larger data set. So we're able to kind of set the lower bound of accuracy with our simple random forest regressor, but there definitely is better performance possible. So thank you everybody for coming to my talk, and I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Emily. I had a question for you, which is, you mentioned the dome seeing issue. Have you looked at the correlation between image quality and then temperature differential between the inside and outside temperatures in the dome, or between the primary mirror and the outside temperature?
Yeah, so it's unclear what exactly the temperature readings inside the dome are. We think that there is a temperature sensor in the dome, but I'm not sure that we have that in our data set currently. Let me go back to that slide. So yeah, the dependence on temperature definitely merits further investigation, but with the Gemini study, they put temperature sensors all over the dome and on the mirror itself even. So kind of something like that would be best to confirm those results.
thanks. So we do have some other temperature sensors, and we can probably get you that data. I have one other question from Matt Shetron. You mentioned that image quality being worse in recent years. Is that due to outliers, or is it in the median value?
That is in the median value, I believe. So we can see, so these aren't the mean values. These are the median values themselves, each dot. And then I just used the standard, one standard deviation is on the error bars. So the median is kind of more robust to outliers. So I would think that if the median values are going up, we know that there's something, something amiss there, if that answers your question.
Great. There are other questions, but we have to move on to the next talk, so we'll pick those up in Slack. Thank you very much, Emily.